and I'm rubbing elbows with all of them. I remember Ric Flair had me come out to the bar with him to drink. I got to hang out with Kevin.
Think about what you just said. Okay, so I had never met Jay Lethal before. I'd heard he's an awesome guy. I was super pumped about this interview. And then right out of the gate, we were like instant best friends. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And thank you, by the way, for subscribing to the channel. I'm assuming that you are if you're watching this right now. And thank you for all the great comments that you've been leaving, suggesting new interviews, and also a lot of people asking what my skincare routine is. I haven't been shy about this. I just turned 38 on May 19th, Kane's favorite day. And a handful of years ago, I guess when I was about 30, I actually started with a skincare routine with the hope that I maybe wouldn't look as old as my actual age. So for everybody who's asking, this right here is the deal. Tiege Hanley, and their tagline is uncomplicated skincare for men, which is exactly what it needs to be, because most of us have never done any sort of skin caring. So it needs to be uncomplicated. So everything you need comes in this box. There's even a handy little card that's inside there telling you exactly what to use, how much of it to use, and when to use it. Okay, so this is what you get. It's 4 bottles, but it's 3 steps. Number 1, the wash. You know how to wash your face. Do it once in the morning, once at night. Then you got the scrub, which feels so nice as it like scrubs out all that extra junk that is sitting on your face right now. You'll do that twice a week. Then step 3, which is broken up into AM and PM, is the moisturizer. AM obviously in the morning, PM at night, and then that's it. It's wash, scrub, moisturize. Wash, scrub, moisturize. I did not mean for that to be a song. And since Tiege Hanley cuts out the middleman, they can sell directly to you at a great price. It's like your own personal fountain of youth. So since Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, and since you're a subscriber, they've got a special deal for you. Click the link down below. Not only will you get the best possible price, but they'll also give you a free gift with your first box. So click the link and get started for just 25 bucks a month. It's so uncomplicated. Trust me, if I could have started this in my 20s, I would have. Why didn't I? Oh man, this is happening. Jay Lethal, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, why are we giggling? What's going on here?
Oh man, we're giggling because I wish that we hit the record button sooner, because I was so like hypnotized by that whole shelf behind you. And I wish that we caught that on camera, but I should have just have to tell you guys about it.
The second the Zoom meeting opened, I should have just hit record. But look at all the things behind you. Like this is like,
these are things that they my gear lady made those. Those things behind you, she can't make those.
Somebody made these, I'm sure.
That's true. Okay, so this here is my gear. This is where I put all my gear, by the way. I hang it up in this closet area. Let's see if I can get my finger working. This is a Ring of Honor jacket. This is a robe that she just made for me. Gear here, boots. This here is a poster. The UFC company decided to work with Impact Wrestling when I was there. This was a tester, and then they didn't like it, so then they stopped. So that, and I got this one here for my birthday. My best friend got this picture of me putting Ric Flair in the figure 4. He got it painted, but that
should be a much larger image. You putting Ric Flair.
Yeah,
that should be an entire mural in your house.
Sure, you're right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna tell my best friend you made a mistake. Be
like it was
to be bigger.
It was a nice gesture, but
right. The thought was nice, but
that's where it ends. Look, I don't have a gear lady making me things.
You could, and I'm sure it'd be cheaper if with those
the Emmys
those things you got behind it. Man, that is incredible. You got 4 of them.
Thank you. That's very kind. I'm not a.
Oh my God! And you've got the lamp. You've got the leg lamp.
Wow,
you've got a leg lamp.
I'm gonna grab.
What?
You're the first person who's noticed. It's very fragile, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there is a big discussion in my family on whether or not he said fragilely, but the F was cut off, so there's no words, or he said ragily because the F was cut off, so all he saw was the R. So it was impossible for him to read the F. But there's a big debate in my family on whether or not he says fragilely or ragile. If the F was there, we think he would have said fragile. But I think he couldn't see the F. If you go back and watch it, the F is cut off of the box. So I think it's ragily. I must be Italian.
Well, it sounds Italian.
Wow, you've got leg lamp.
Well, I lived in Cleveland for 5 years. That was the first American city that I lived in, and the Christmas Story house is in Cleveland.
Yes.
So they do a lot of things in Cleveland surrounding a Christmas Story and the Christmas Story house, which has been turned into like a museum now.
Are we becoming best friends?
We are best friends. It's the scene in Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends? Yep. I'm so pumped to have you on the show. I've been talking to Ring of Honor for like a year to make this happen, and here we are.
Okay, so I feel like I just want to talk to you about everything other than Ring of Honor right now, especially since I said a line and you knew where it was from. Me, my brother, and select few wrestlers I want to play my ringtone for you, and I want to know if you know where it's from.
Oh my goodness!
But in order to do that, I just have to disappear for like 3 seconds. Okay. Would you mind? And like people are watching. This is live here, guys. This is
what could, and as Jay Lethal sprints off, what could this ringtone possibly be?
Because
that was less than 3 seconds.
You seem like someone who, man, all of my friends, if you give them a line, they're like, oh, that's from this movie. That's from this movie.
The pressure is on now. If I don't get this, the interview's over.
I feel like you're going to get it. Maybe. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I don't know if you can hear it.
What is it?
It's from Beetlejuice.
Oh!
It's from Beetlejuice.
Hey, I haven't seen Beetlejuice since I was like 6.
Okay. No worries.
But I would have got that. I hope I didn't disappoint you too much.
You didn't.
Oh,
it's
my
tough
goodness.
one. Because in the Beetlejuice movie, it's only in the movie for like 10 to 15 seconds. You don't get a lot of it. So like some people have no idea. But some people, they go right away. That's Beetlejuice. And
that was a deep cut. That's what that was.
All right.
Very deep cut.
Okay. So,
my goodness.
Sorry. We're just taking this everywhere but wrestling.
No, who needs to talk about wrestling? There's more to life than wrestling, right?
Right.
What has been keeping you busy over the last 15 months? Because it hasn't been a ton of wrestling.
It hasn't been. Twitch. I've fallen into the Twitch. I stream on Twitch, anything on Twitch. Yeah.
Minecraft, right?
I'm not a big fan of Minecraft.
I just threw that out there.
Okay.
I saw you were on a Minecraft stream though, I believe.
Was I?
I don't know.
Like someone made me?
No. I was on your Twitter and someone had tagged you and you retweeted it. It was Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana said, "Join us, Among Us."
Among Us, yes.
Oh, Among Us, that's right.
Yeah. Among Us, great game. Have you ever played Among Us?
I played with my nephews who are twins and they're 10, and they were teaching me everything, and I kept saying sus.
Yes, that's a great word. Great word. Sus. Great game of deceit, there's probably about 10 people. One of them is the imposter. You got to figure out who it is.
Yeah.
Great game. Good. Easy to pass the time.
So what's the go-to game for you right now?
It's something called Fall Guys. A game called Fall Guys. Very easy to play, hard to master. That's the best. The best games are super easy to get, but it's just hard to become really, really good at them. Those are the best.
Yeah. Well, how difficult is it for you when your world is wrestling for, almost 20 years and then it comes to a screeching halt?
So here's the thing. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in the wrestling business, but I really, I really put all of my eggs in the wrestling basket.
Sure.
I didn't divvy my eggs up. I didn't have a backup plan. There's no plan B for me. If it's wrestling or it's nothing. And I hope that it's nothing because I don't want to live on the street. But so because all my eggs were in the wrestling basket, there was sheer panic in my life. I was terrified because this pandemic had the ability to end wrestling for a foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Not just one particular company, but wrestling everywhere. So I was terrified. Terrified. That's an understatement. And then slowly but surely, having these shows with no fans became a thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, only a wrestler would fully grasp this, but wrestling hurts. No matter what they tell you, and no matter how long you've trained and how long you've done this, it hurts. And the way we get around that is, believe it or not, the fans give you this boost of adrenaline. Adrenaline is the most powerful drug in the world. In fact, depending on what shows you watch, like Dark Side of the Ring, other wrestlers go through great lengths to find another drug like adrenaline, but there's no match for it. Okay,
yeah.
You are invincible in the ring, and then wrestling no longer hurts until you're back in your hotel room, and then you're like, oh man, that thing. But there's nothing like it. So when the fans are there, you're like, I can do this forever. But when they're not there, you realize exactly what you're putting your body through, and it is not fun. But here's the thing, Chris, because I put all my eggs in the wrestling basket, whether there's 0 fans or 100, I gotta be wrestling because it's what, I just position my life in a way where it's wrestling or it's nothing. So whether there's 0 fans or 100 or thousands, I gotta be wrestling. So I'm fine with doing it either way, whether it hurts or not, but it's just easier when there's people there. And luckily people are coming back. I feel like it's Christmas coming up.
I mean, it's July 11th. It's right around the corner here. Best in the world. Crowds are coming back.
Chris, I can remember Christmas Eve. I couldn't even sleep because I was so excited about what was going to be happening. Get to open presents and the joy. That same feeling, I swear, is the way that I can only describe the feeling of knowing that fans are going to be back. Wrestling's not going to hurt. And I get to perform in front of people. Man, I can't tell you how excited I am.
Did COVID give you some perspective? If all your eggs were in the wrestling basket, did it give you some perspective to go, man, what do I do when I can't wrestle anymore?
It did. And I've struggled to think of other things that I could possibly do. I've got 1 or 2 things working in the background that I'm not going to mention. But yeah, it definitely opened my eyes, especially when I thought there was a chance that this COVID could end wrestling as we know it for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Just sheer panic in my life. Every wrestler had to be panicking.
Well, this is the thing that happens, not just in wrestling. This happens with all athletes across all sports where you're 18, 19, 20, 21, trying to make it, make a name for yourself. And you don't think about, all right, well, what am I going to do when I'm 32 or 37 or 42? You might have had a great run, but that's only a small little slice of your life.
Correct. And we don't want to think about it. Yeah. Because then that makes it real. It's like in wrestling, we get to make up this world. We go through the curtain and we get to control everything that happens once we get through that curtain. If in life you were this guy who got bullied and pushed around, when you go through that curtain, you're the Macho Man. You know what I mean? Like, so to think
quite
about
literally
those things,
for you.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, quick. Where are my glasses? Oh, here they are.
Oh man,
to put my glasses.
Oh, put them on. What are we waiting for? Come on.
Yeah. Why have you been doing this? Why have you been doing this the whole time without those glasses on?
Where's Black Machismo?
I don't want to talk to you anymore unless you got those glasses on. Yeah. Little side note, this keeps going everywhere but wrestling, but
well, that's the whole point. Yeah.
I every time I see any image of me doing the Macho Man, because he'd always show his teeth a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the images I have this gap here. But I got Invisalign and I'm getting the gap closed. Look, it's
Oh,
all
your teeth look
if you
perfect. Look at
if you go
those.
back and look at all the pictures, I got this big gap in my teeth.
Yeah.
And I think I was the only one who cared, because I asked several of my friends, I'm thinking about, no, don't do it, blah, blah, blah. But it's all I would see when I look in the mirror, you know?
That's all that matters.
That's all that.
All that matters is, are you happy when you look in the mirror?
Right. So now I'm going to show my teeth any chance I get. Yeah. Ah.
I was a fellow Invisalign wearer.
Oh, no way.
Well, I had braces when I was 16 until I was 18. And,
okay.
I wore my retainer and everything, but your teeth still shift a little bit. So I only wore them for like 9 weeks. I had Invisalign for like 9 weeks and just straightened out a couple little things.
I would have loved to have had braces, but unfortunately, my parents had 6 kids. My dad was the only one working. It was literally like, oh, your teeth hurt? Well, you're fine. Go, get on. You know what I mean? Oh, there's pain in your teeth.
You have 5 siblings?
I do. And they always make the joke, my parents must not have had a television. With all those kids.
Where were you? Oldest, youngest, in the middle?
I share the middle. I share the middle with my older brother.
So do you feel like maybe you had middle child syndrome? Because that's a thing. That is very much a thing.
No, I don't feel like that. I don't. And I actually feel bad for people who don't have a big family. So many of my friends are only childs. Like, we had family movie night and family bowling night. We'd sit at the table, play cards. You had built-in friends when you couldn't go out. You mean, like, to not have that, I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine it.
I just had one sister, so I don't know. Just an older sister.
Were you guys close?
Not really, if I'm being completely honest.
Man.
4 years older than me, and when you're a kid, 4 years is like an eternity.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Trust me, it is.
I'm 8 and she's 12. I don't know what she's, I don't know what's going on in her life. I don't really care either.
Well, getting into the wrestling business, my brothers and my family loved wrestling. I wish that I could have gotten into the wrestling business with my younger brother, and we could have been a tag team, but he liked basketball more. It's probably better for his body anyway.
But I'm sure you were into other sports as well. It wasn't just wrestling, was it?
Just wrestling.
Wow. So when your little brother's playing basketball, you're not playing against him?
So everybody, I feel like even my sisters, but that's just a joke, but all the boys came before me, played football, and it was just assumed that I was going to play football. I remember once I got to high school, the coach walking past me in the hallway and go, "Hey, practice is such and such." I go, "Whoa, no, nobody even asked me." I wasn't a big sports fan, especially since my brothers were so good. I never won anything. Even when it came to sports video games, they were just so, like, sports wasn't my thing. I played the saxophone. I played the saxophone for about 10 years. So when the coach, that year, it was not so fun for me, because when the coach found out that I was going to be on the field, but not in a uniform, not in a football uniform, but in a marching band uniform, he was not happy. And he would make snide comments, but it didn't last too long. But yeah, I just sports was not a big thing for me, believe it or not. I joined the wrestling team, and I was only on the wrestling team for like half the year, because it wasn't the wrestling that I thought it was. I grew up, Macho Man Randy Savage. I want to be like him. There were so many rules, amateur wrestling. Like, when you got the guy on the ground, you're not allowed to lock your hands. Like, am I not trying to pin this guy? Like, what's
you
going
can
on?
only you can only do moves with one arm. Like a full Nelson is illegal.
I was like, this is not what I signed up for. So that didn't last long. And I stuck with the music for a long time until I realized that I had a chance to wrestle. I went to a wrestling show with my buddies. It's a little small time show. And at intermission, they said, "Oh, we're going to have a contest. And whoever wins the contest, we're going to train you to be a wrestler for free." And I won the contest.
What was the contest?
They brought you in, and the whole day they showed you 4 things in the wrestling ring. Okay. And whoever did those 4 things the best, they would pick 3 winners. And if you were one of the winners, they'd train you to be a wrestler for free. They showed you how to run and hit the ropes.
Okay.
They showed you how to take a fall, land on the ground. There was I think there was a jumping one, or who had the best endurance or whatever. And then there was a promo one where you had to cut a promo. And I remember I was only 16. So I was 15. I was 16, turning 16. And at the end, they picked 3 winners. I wasn't even one of the winners. So I remember my dad took off work to take me to this, and he sat in the back the whole time. I'm thinking, I didn't even win. I got to walk back over to my dad. He took off work. And so right before I got to my dad, they made another announcement. They said, we weren't going to do this because he's so young, but we're going to make an exception and add a 4th winner. And it was me. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
It's pretty much the story of my whole wrestling career. It's just one lucky win after another. I feel like my whole wrestling career it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the movie. I won the golden ticket. Yeah. I got the Chocolate Factory.
But I mean, yes, part of it is luck, but it's also a lot of hard work and determination and right place, right time.
People don't want to look at the hard work. They don't realize that's not. It doesn't suit their story. They're just like, this guy won a contest. He got lucky. Sure, you got to have the skills and everything to back it up when the time is right. But I do attribute most of it. I am a pretty lucky guy. I am.
Right. But just because you won a contest and got free training doesn't mean you have this great run in Impact Wrestling and a great run in Ring of Honor.
This is true. Because what isn't discussed too much is after 6 months, that training school closed down. So then I had to go pay and search for other training because my training wasn't complete. So then, I still went through all the things that people go through when they actually pay, because I did have to pay for additional training but they don't care about that. They just the story, the silver lining, that headline is he won the contest, he trained for free.
Was the promo that you cut a Macho Man Randy Savage promo?
It was not. It was not. You want to know what I think helped me was I think I was the most athletic one there. I really think so.
From all the years of not playing football.
Yes, I wasn't. No injuries or anything. And another wild thing is, so 4 people won. I'm the only one wrestling today.
Wow.
Yeah, those 4 people stopped wrestling about 2 years after, maybe 2-3 years after they had won.
I think there's a lot of people, and you can certainly relate to this. There's a lot of people who say they want to be a wrestler and even go so far as getting trained.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of people, just going to wrestling school, just being able to say to their friends and family, I go to wrestling school, I think that's enough for a lot of people.
It has to be. So I'm a trainer. I train people on how to become a professional wrestler. I have a school in Tampa.
Yeah.
And
plug it, by the way, because there's going to be people watching this that want to train with you.
I have a wrestling school in Tampa, Florida. It's called the Wrestle Factory. I'm sorry, it's called the Wrestling Laboratory, not Factory. Sorry. Wrestle Lab for short. Wrestle
Laboratory.
I can't believe I said that, man. Well, anyway, getting to my point. There's so many people who join the wrestling business because they want to make it to the WWE, which it's so tough. Like, some of them I have to explain, you have to be okay with knowing that you'll go through all of this training, all this hard work. This hurts. It doesn't feel good. You're going to leave here. Your neck is sore. You've got to be okay with knowing that after all this work, you only get one match in front of 10 people. If that is okay with you, then the wrestling business will work. But if you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, if you're like, I'm going to make it to WWE, because there's no way to guarantee that. And then if you do all this work and you don't make it there, then it's human nature to look for a reason why it didn't happen. Instead of it just, it wasn't in the cards. And then, the worst thing would be, I didn't make it there because of your training. What didn't you show me that was, whoa,
no.
You know what? That's never happened, but I'm terrified that it will someday. You know what I mean?
No, it's clearly all on them. That's how wrestling is. Wrestling is not a team, sport.
It's human nature you need someone to point out and go, that is why that didn't happen.
Sure.
And that's just natural. But I mean, the sooner you can get over that, the better wrestling will be for you.
At what age did you determine I am going to be a pro wrestler when I grow up?
I think it was always there. My oldest brother got hurt in the living room with my grandpa wrestling. Um, I can remember in school, all of my reports, anytime you got to pick the topic, it was wrestling. In middle school, I remember going to lunch and I didn't even eat. Me and my buddies would bring our wrestling magazines. We'd never go up to get food sometimes. We'd sit there at the table. Oh, did you see Monday Night Raw? Did you see this? I think in those moments, I already knew that it would be tough to pursue it, but that was my ultimate dream. Somewhere along the way, my back plan was going to be being a carpenter like my dad, because sometimes I'd go to work with him, help him, and I had my own tool set. But I think that the moment that I realized, okay, wrestling is it's full steam ahead, is when I went to that show with my buddies and they said, we're going to be hosting this contest in a few weeks. And if you win it, we'll train you for free. There was never a doubt in my head that I wouldn't win this contest. I knew for a fact that I would win it, and this would be my big. So, like, from that moment on, is when I knew I'd be a wrestler.
Wow!
It was always a thing in my head. I like, this is going to be my dream. I did start developing a back plan, like trying to be a carpenter, but the moment that happened, I was still in middle school. I was about to go into high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the thing. That was it. And I remember my mom, when I came home to tell my parents, I remember they sat in the living room. My mom's face she seemed like she wanted to say no. But my dad, who loved wrestling, I remember his face, like, I almost remember him like nodding. And my mom's whole thing was, of course, they don't want to see their babies get hurt, you know?
Sure.
But never once did they say no to me. Never once. My parents were like super supportive. My brother wanted to be a rapper, and they were fully behind that. And like, no matter what as long as you had something that you wanted to do, they would support you.
Yeah.
So they never told me no, even though I think my mom did want to say no. But I remember their faces. My mom looked like she wanted to say no.
Well, I don't think it's any mom's like favorite day when their son or daughter says to them, I'm going to be a pro wrestler, mom. You're like, are you sure?
Right. And you know what's wild is, if I ever get to a point where I have kids and they come up to me and they say, I want to be a wrestler, shockingly, it's not going to be a yes, I'm so proud. I think it's going to be same like my mom. Are you sure that's what you want to do?
That's not uncommon, though, when you've had a career in pro wrestling. Like, I'll talk to a lot of second or third generation stars, and their parents are like I just had Ted DiBiase Jr. on recently, or Austin Gunn. And the parents are like, you really want to follow in these footsteps?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a tough life. As you know, it's a tough life.
You want to know why? Okay, so here's my reason on why I would tell my kid, are you sure you want to do that? There's two reasons. One, I'm already a wrestler. So any second generation, you automatically compared to your mom or your dad. Automatically. So right away, you're automatically not getting a fair shake because you're just instantly compared. That can be a blessing or a curse. It can get the doors open for you, or it could not. And the other reason is, and it's the saddest reason, there is a checklist in wrestling of all the things you need, right? You got to have a great body. You got to be able to talk. You got to have charisma. You got to be able to wrestle. You can't be too short. You got to be the perfect height. You got to be kind to others. But all this stuff. Yeah. You can get all of those checks. You can have all of those things and still never make it. It's wild. This is just one. You got to be lucky. So to have a son or daughter just gear their whole life towards this thing where at the end of the day, you really do need luck. Man, I would just try to persuade them not too hard. If they wanted to do it, I would be okay. But like I said, you can have everything you need and still not make it, which is the wild thing.
But it's also, what do you determine to be success? For some people, it's working a few indie matches. For some people, it's main event at WrestleMania or nothing.
Right, and those people get shot in the foot.
Yeah.
Right? You're oh man. Because when you don't reach that, you never feel like it panned out for you,
Yeah.
which is wild. Which is wild.
I mean,
I mean, if I couldn't wrestle tomorrow, I've had the greatest career that anybody could ever have. I feel I got an action figure. I traveled the world. I went to another country, and people wanted to meet me. Like, you've made it. I was in a video game. I mean, I got to meet my idol. I've worked with them on pay-per-view. Like, I made it. So, yeah, there's that.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. I would imagine for you as a kid growing up, I mean, you've had an amazing career. WWE was probably a goal for you. Was there ever interest from them?
So I think working for the WWF or WWE, for most of the people from my generation, that's why you got into wrestling.
Of course.
And not just, that is why you got into the wrestling. Most of us, along the way, your goals kind of change and you realize there's other things besides the WWE. Or for me, it was, I can make a living and not have to go to WWE. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was possible. It wasn't. Thank God it is now. But I mean, so there was a few times there was a little interest, but because of contracts here and there, it was never like a thing that I could pursue. Part of me thinks that it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I got to be, hindsight's 2020. We don't know what would have happened, but I became the face of a company known around the world for its wrestling. I was a world champion.
Yep.
In Ring of Honor, it's like you worked so hard and you got that big promotion and you got that corner office looking out over the water. Like, I got that promotion. Who knows what would have happened over there? And now that I have that promotion, why do you give that up to go try to, like, I might as well have a big Ring of Honor tattoo on my back because I'm going to be there till I die.
Yeah. You're the guy. Like, when people think of Ring of Honor, they think of Jay Lethal.
And in wrestling, every wrestler is a dream scenario for them.
Yeah.
And you can get that on some of the smaller indie shows, but it won't pay the bills. I have gotten that, and I'm at a show that financially pays my bills.
Yeah.
So it's a dream scenario. Like, I have won the lottery. I've got the chocolate factory.
At what point in your Ring of Honor run did you really start to bring that on? Did you bring it on yourself, or did they bring it on you where you went, yeah, I am going to be the franchise?
That's a good question. I feel like it was more so brought onto me. That's a great question. Yeah, I feel like it was more so brought on to me. Yeah, in fact, one day I remember just hearing one day they started calling me the franchise, and right away, because I'm such a wrestling historian,
Shane Douglas.
Like, yeah, I'm like, he is not going to like that. So I would have never come up with that on my own. But yeah, it was something that was brought on to me from Ring of Honor, and even in the locker room, because, and like, I hate anyone to refer to me as a veteran or like, oh man, you're like nah, man, we're all on the same playing field. We're trying to make this company and ourselves as big as possible.
Yeah.
So, but in the locker room, a lot of people call me captain, and I just think it's just, if they all had the vote, they'd be like, yeah, he should be the guy. Or like, if we had to come together and make who would speak for us, it's probably him. I've been told that by so many of them. And I'm like, oh no, like, that's not me. But yeah, so it's definitely not something that I said, yeah, I'm the franchise. Like, yeah, this is like,
But I mean, when you think about locker room leaders in other companies, you think about, like, everyone always talks about the Undertaker, who's in his 50s. You at this point, when you're being deemed the leader or the captain or the franchise, you're in your early 30s at this point.
I know. Which is wild too, to think about me being in my 30s. I remember when, it feels like just last week or 2 weeks ago, I could always say that I was the youngest person on the roster. In fact, when I got to Impact Wrestling, I couldn't even rent a car. I was so young. And now to hear that I'm 30 something, it's like, oh man, time really does fly.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't live in those moments, if you're too focused on something else, these things just go by and don't get to appreciate them. I feel like I've appreciated them, but I really don't feel like I have fully grasped everything that I've gotten to do yet. I think when it does hit me, my brain's going to explode and then I'll be dead. So
that's that's kind of been one of the silver linings of COVID is we've all had a chance to pause, especially in the world that you live in and the business that you work in. You're city to city every single week. How could you possibly slow down and appreciate what you're doing when it's hotels and airports every single week? And COVID has been this great pause where you've been able to go, I have a painting of me putting Ric Flair in the figure four. How is this my life?
Right. Oh man, that's hilarious.
I mean, it's true.
Those 4 Emmys you got there. So you were like, yeah. So for some people, the thing is, when have you made it? Because making it is different to everybody.
Sure.
So how many of those did it take for you to realize that you've made it?
Man,
you had to get 4. Now. You got greedy. You had to get 4 of them.
Well, so quick story here. I'm originally from Canada.
Yes.
So originally from Toronto, I was working in Cleveland. It's not easy as a Canadian or someone from any other country to work in America.
A friend of mine got banned for that. So keep going.
It's a huge process to get an O1 visa, which is what I was working under for my first several years, which is the Alien of Extraordinary Ability visa.
That sounds amazing.
So the thing when you have a visa is you can only work for the company who has sponsored your visa. So I could only work for CBS Cleveland, which was the company that sponsored my visa. That's where I was an entertainment reporter. But I was starting to get offers to do other things, but I couldn't legally do these other jobs. So I reached out to an immigration attorney and said, do you think I could get a green card? And he looks at like my resume basically and goes, 60% chance. And I go, oh, that's good-ish, right? He goes, anything over 50, I say we go for it. He goes, have you, what kind of awards have you won? Because it's all going to be about like, what have you done that you will be able to take these jobs away from an American? So I said, well, I've won some of these awards. I've been nominated for an Emmy. He goes, nomination, that's okay. I said, but I'm nominated for 2 more Emmys in like 2 months. He goes, if you win an Emmy there, you've got a really good chance to get this green.
Wow.
So I not only did I win 1 Emmy that night, I won 2 Emmys that night. And one of them was about a story I did about Gregory Iron, a wrestler out of Cleveland who wrestled despite having cerebral palsy. And so the fact that I was able to like tie my 2 passions together, broadcasting and wrestling together, and win an Emmy for that.
Now then you go into the guy's office with your Emmys, slam them down on the table, right?
Yep. So I'll never forget, I won those 2 Emmys on like a Saturday night in Indianapolis. And that Monday morning emailed the immigration attorney and said, you'll never believe it. Not only did I win 1, I won 2. And he goes, let's get that application started, and ended up getting my green card. So I don't know if that's a moment where I made it, but that was certainly a moment where someone who had a lot of power over the rest of my career, sitting in some random office in Texas, I believe, is looking at my resume and my application for probably like 3 minutes and going, do we give this guy a green card or not? And that was a moment where I went, I've accomplished enough to at least stay here.
That's tremendous. Wow.
So that was it for me. But what about for you? What's the moment for you where you go, I mean, and we've had a lot of time, as we just discussed, over the last 15 months. What's the moment for you where you go, I think I've made it?
I know exactly when it was. I got an action figure made of me from Impact Wrestling. My dad had it in his hand, and he said, there's so many people who don't have an action figure themselves. If you don't realize that you've made it by now, then you're crazy. And I go, yep, he's absolutely right. Wow. That was the moment, because it never dawned, believe it or not, it had never dawned. No one ever said that to me. I had no thought about what the crowning achievement is that would make me feel like I've made it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'd always made it, but I never thought of it. I never thought about it until that day when my dad held the action figure and he said, you've made it, blah, blah, blah. And I go, wow, you know what? He's right.
But it's
I've made it.
also, it's also the fact that it's your dad saying that to you. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
someone that have a tremendous amount of love and respect for, going, "Hey, son,
Yes.
look at this.
Yeah, wake up, stupid. You made it."
How is this action figure not on display behind you? Come on."
Actually, it's because I don't have many of them. Obviously, the one that I was talking about is at my parents' house.
Okay.
The one I'm talking. This one is actually my second one. This one's from Ring of Honor. The one I'm talking about. There's a lot of my things that aren't really my things, but they kind of belong to me. But my parents won't let them go, so they're at their house. Like I've got a couple. I threw the first pitch out. That was amazing too. When I threw a first pitch out, literally right before I was walking onto the field, all I could think about was, this is what celebrities do. Like,
what team was it for?
I threw the first pitch out for 3 different teams. The White Sox, the Tampa Bay Rays, and then the farm league. No, I did the Yankees spring training game and a farm league in Vegas.
Man.
Yes, and each time, especially the White Sox, they made a jersey for me with my name on it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time I've seen it. My dad won't let it go. I live here in Tampa, Florida. It is not here in my possession because my dad won't let it go. He's got all the jerseys.
I love that you have the perspective that you have, that you're able to look at these really cool moments in your career and go, that was cool. Because there's a lot of people, and this, Jay, there's a lot of people that have those cool moments to go, yeah, of course. What's next?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's so sad. So sad. But yeah, I was literally thinking, I said to myself, and there's been so many times where stuff like that is happening, and I'm like, they don't know that I'm just a wrestler. Like they think that I'm like some big deal. Like when we had the show in Madison Square Garden for Ring of Honor and the New Japan joint show.
Yeah.
So first off, I thought the only way to get to wrestle in Madison Square Garden, there's 2 ways. 1, you had to work for WWE, or 2, you had to fill out a janitor application, and then you could say you worked in Madison. Yeah, I worked in Madison Square Garden. That was the only 2 ways, But because my face was on the poster, when I got there the day before, they brought me in. The social media people pulled me aside. Can you film this, film that? Then somebody came out of nowhere and was like, I'm going to take you to this room where only a select few people have been, like Mike Tyson, and like they don't let just anybody in this room. I go, I think they think because I'm on the poster that I'm like they think I'm like a celebrity or something. They rolled out the red carpet. There was like, man, it was incredible. And all I could think was, I'm pulling a fast one over these guys because they think that I'm like this big deal. And they're like laying out taking me to this room that like Vince McMahon was probably in that room countless times, but not a lot of people because, they don't allow people in that room. You got to be a somebody. And I was like, this is unreal.
But when it comes to Ring of Honor, you are the somebody.
This is, yes. But in my head, it's always, I don't know, not to downplay it too much, but I don't know, like, oh man, it's hard to explain. And then I was like, after then you got to kind of play the part a little bit. And I was like, yeah, hey, you mind if I get that poster outside when you guys are done with it? I asked if I could have the big poster outside Madison Square Garden. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. Hey, get his name, get his address down. And we'll send it to you as soon as. And while she was writing my address down, all I could think of was, oh my God, they think like this can't be real. Yeah. They think I'm like some big star. They're just like, what I felt like I could ask them anything and they would just let me have it or do it in that moment. I remember the lady said, oh, just so you know, because last time we sent it to whatever big hockey player we had hockey here, and he was a little upset because when you got the sign, it kind of stinks because you have to remember this sign is outside. And I go, oh yeah, don't worry, that won't be an issue. I'm thinking, please stop this. That ain't a big deal to me. I don't care if it stinks.
So how bad did it smell?
It didn't smell bad at all. I don't know what that guy was talking about.
Sounds like people were pissing on his sign.
Oh man, that was like one of the greatest experiences. And not to cut you off, but what made that moment for me, what made it was my very first wrestling match ever. My dad went. My mom, she didn't want to go because she thought I was going to get hurt, you know. Eventually, my dad tricked her into going, then she loved it. But my very first wrestling event, my dad was there, sat in the back, watched his son get beat up for like 4 minutes. The match was only 4 minutes. For the first 6 years of my career, he went to every show that I had. Wow. Even when Ring of Honor, because when I got to Ring of Honor, the first time I had to drive to the shows, but the first time offering me a plane ticket. So we have a show in Chicago. You made the list. We're going to give you a plane ticket. I go home and I told my dad, oh, Ring of Honor is going to fly me. And he goes, well, what about us? I go, they're not going to fly you. He goes, well, we'll rent a car. We'll drive. I said, that's 16 hours. He said, we'll drive. Let's do it. Wow. I said, okay. And that became the precedent. Like, no matter where we had to go, whether it was a 16-hour drive or a 2-hour drive, my dad went to every show with me. So to have him see me, and sometimes, Chris, they were the only ones in the crowd. There's been so many shows where like the crowd was my 4 family members and the wrestlers would work just in front of them. And my parents would they would give them the biggest reactions that 4 people could give, which was so cool at the time. But so to have him see me in these small VFW halls, my very first match, and now he's in a big press box.
Yeah.
Looking down, sold out Madison Square Garden. I'm making my entrance with the world. Man, it is the greatest moment of my life. It's unreal. Unreal.
All of what you're describing here sounds like imposter syndrome.
I'm not sure what imposter syndrome is. No.
It's basically the idea of like, I'm here, but I don't feel like I belong here. And
yes.
It's just a matter of time till everybody else figures out that I'm not supposed to be here.
Okay, so that's wild that you just said that, because I have done so many interviews where they asked me about what it was like my first time in Ring of Honor, because I was there years ago and then I went to Impact Wrestling. But my first couple of years there was exactly that. I was terrified that someone was going to come figure out that I was wrestling with guys like Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, all these legends. There was still training that I still needed to complete. That's why, because my school had closed down, remember? There was still a lot of things that I don't know. When I sat down with a wrestler, I noticed that I wasn't coming up with any. They would lay the whole thing out for me because I wasn't that skilled. And I really felt like somewhere along the way, someone thought that I could hang here, but I can't. And I'm getting exposed at every turn. It's just a matter of time before someone says, hey, what are you doing here? And then kick me out. That's my whole description of my first 3 or 4 years at Ring of Honor. It was unreal. That's crazy. It's called imposter syndrome.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds obviously with what you've accomplished in your career, you've come to terms with the fact that okay, I do belong here
now. Yes.
It sounds like it might have taken some time, and that's probably compounded when you go to Impact Wrestling. And when you were in Impact Wrestling, everybody was in Impact Wrestling. That roster was stacked.
Mm-hmm. How do you mess that up? That roster was stacked. You're right. Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. We had this great relationship. We did this, we brought guys from CMLL and New Japan. They had Okada there, for crying out loud. It was unreal, the amount of talent there. And I'm rubbing elbows with all of them. I remember Ric Flair had me come out to the bar with him to drink. I got to hang out with Kevin.
Think about what you just said.
You're right. I brushed over it like it's nothing. You're right.
When you came up with the Black Machismo character, what was the reception originally for that?
Okay, so I didn't want to do it
Hmm.
originally. Um, it was this impression was just something that I was always able to do. And any time being in a locker room where if it got too quiet, I would just bust out in this Randy Savage thing. And one time, Kevin Nash, he just loved hanging out with the X Division guys.
Yeah, there's another. Yeah, Kevin Nash is hanging out with the X Division guy.
I think it's because we laughed at everything he said, and he had he's so funny. He's the
Yeah.
funniest guy I've ever met in my entire life.
It's like
And I
this
remember,
dry sense of humor.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and there's been so many jokes that I can't repeat in public. But I remember one time he said to us, if you guys met me when I was in WCW, you would hate my guts, because there's a lot of stories about he just didn't like the smaller guys. Well, anyway, he loved hanging out with us, and he heard me do the Savage voice a few times, and he goes, "Yeah, why don't you do that on TV? That's hilarious." And I go, "Well, no, no, I don't want to do it on TV." My big fear was I would become a joke. This would be funny. Getting in the wrestling business, nobody wants to be the joke. Everybody wants to be that badass world champion. You
Yeah.
want to be the Stone Cold Steve Austin. Somewhere along the way, you realize, though, that not everybody can be that badass world champion, that Stone Cold Steve Austin. There is a spot for everybody. You just got to figure out what your spot is. If you're the funny man, you have a role. There is a place for everybody as long as you realize that, because not everybody can be that number one. So
Yeah.
he got me to realize that. I didn't want to be the funny guy. He helped me through that. Also, I didn't want anyone to think that I was making fun of Macho Man, because I idolized him. Him
Yeah.
and Ric Flair, if it weren't for them, I don't think I'd want to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to make fun of him. So Kevin said, think of it this way. There's nobody talking about the Macho Man right now. If you do this, at least people will be talking about him. So if anything, you'd be helping him. And that logic was like, you're right. Nobody's talking about Macho Man right now. So if I could bring any light to him, that would yeah. And then I was like all for it after that. So it was all Kevin Nash's idea. Then he went to Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff loved it. I remember them pulling me into the sound stage, and they said, "Do your impression." And I would do it. They would play it back. And literally when they played it back, I was like, whoa, that sounds just, because I'd never heard it recorded before. That sounded just like Macho Man. They got such a big kick out of it, man. It was incredible. And then that character lasted way longer than I thought it was going to last.
Was there ever any pushback from WWE since that was their IP?
If it was, never got to me.
Huh. Did you ever hear anything from his family? Did they ever say, what a great impression?
I became great friends with Lanny Poffo. So here's a Macho Man story for you. I was doing these shows in the Midwest run by a man named Ed Schumann. And Ed Schumann, when I did his shows, he kept claiming to me, I know the Macho Man. And he's like, I know him. And I told him about you. And here's his number. He wants you to give him a call. So I go, oh, man, that'd be great. So when I got home, wrestling ribs were a big thing. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to call this number. Somebody on the other line is going to do a Macho Man. I can't be the only one who can do Macho Man. So I never called it. I ended up doing Ed Schumann's show maybe 5-6 times after that. And every time I would go, he would say, Macho Man said that you never called him. Like, I gave you his number. Call him. I go, yeah. I get home, didn't call him. So then, like the fourth time, I go, okay, let me just call him so that Ed Schumann can stop hassling me and I can get this rib over with. They can laugh at me. So I call the number and I explain, Ed Schumann gave me your number. And the guy on the other line kept going, he kept going, is that right? And I go, yeah. And I'm a big fan of yours. Is that right? Yeah, and I've been doing this thing on TV. I don't watch much TV, but Ed showed me on YouTube. It's pretty good. And I go, yeah, I'm a huge fan of yours. And it's like, this is an honor. Is that right? Well, me and my girl are about to go to get something to eat. I got to talk to you later. I go, okay. And that was like, so when I do the next Ed Schumann show, I go, okay, I talked to him. He goes, what did he say? I go, I felt like I was bothering him. I'm waiting for we got you.
Yeah.
And that was it. He never said anything ever again about it. So then 3 years later, I meet Lanny Poffo. Someone books me versus Lanny Poffo on a wrestling show. Um, and he's such a cool guy. And at the end of the day, after I wrestled him, I pull him aside. I go, "Can I ask you something?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Do you know a man named Ed Schumann?" He goes, "Oh, that's Ed Schumann." And as soon as he said that, my heart started pounding so hard. Like, oh my God, I said, "Okay, well, Ed Schumann gave me the number to Macho Man. I don't have it anymore. Um, but can you find out if that was really him that I talked to?" He goes, "Yeah, as soon as I get home, I'll give me your number." I gave him my number. Said, "Give me your email too." Gave him my email. The next day, I had an email from Lanny Poffel, said, "Yeah, I just talked to my brother. He said he talked to you once. He said you only called him once. He said he gave Ed Schumann uh, the number to give to you, and you only called him once." And I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry. I found the number and I called him 3 more times, but every time the conversation was like 10 seconds because he couldn't talk. He was busy doing, and I was so mad. You have no idea.
Oh,
So, like, I just didn't believe that it was him. Otherwise, I would have asked, man. And then he passed away, and you have no idea. Man, it was all because of people in the wrestling business. They play so many ribs, and I just thought I was protecting myself against like being
of
made fun
course.
of.
Yeah.
There's no way to describe, Chris, how the feeling that I felt when I realized it was him. 3 times I tried to call and he was too busy to talk, but like I let that opportunity slip through my fingers because I thought it was someone playing a joke on me. It was
Well, anybody's going to do any sort of impression for a rib, it's Hulk Hogan or Macho Man. So I completely can understand why you might think that someone was pulling a fast one on you.
yeah, but it man, when I said the name Ed Schumann to Lanny, and
Yeah.
he right away goes, "Oh," before he finished saying, right then and there, I just felt awful that I didn't believe, and I should have believed him. And here's the thing, Ed Schumann, he passed away too. He was a great guy, never played a trick on me. He was always so nice to me. He booked me on his shows at a point where I was having this imposter syndrome. Like he was like there was no reason not to believe him.
Yeah.
But I
What
didn't believe him.
what do you
Wow.
wish you could have asked Macho Man that you didn't
Oh
ask him?
man, there were so many things. So I enjoyed most of his heel stuff as opposed to his good guy stuff.
Yeah.
So I would have picked his brain. I wanted to become better at wrestling. What advice do you have? I would have. There was one thing that I tried to do is I would have wanted him to hear me plan a match and tell me what was good about it. No, don't do this. Why do you do it like
Mm.
this? Well, and like because the way his matches came out to me were all when he was the bad guy was so incredible. Like him, there's 2 people where I watch their matches and I think they're geniuses. Him and the other's Triple H. Like they don't have bad matches the way it's from a wrestler's standpoint, the way it's what we call structured and the way it plans out. It's always to me flawless. So that would have been the main thing I would have asked him. Can you hear me plan this match? And can you tell me what I shouldn't do and what I should like? Man, and then I would have asked him all the fan questions. What was it like working with Sensational Sherry? I was a big fan of Sensational Sherry. I thought she was beautiful. One of my favorite moments was when she interviewed. There was a storyline where if Warrior won the belt, Savage wanted a title shot, so he sent Sensational Sherry to ask her if you win, can you give Macho Man? Man, there was so many. Like, oh man, this was my childhood. And Bad Guy Savage, there was one thing that I was super impressed at, and I tried to incorporate little things like that when I was a bad guy. So he would make Elizabeth stand in a specific spot. He would like visually point at her, "You stand here," you know? But then when things weren't going right in the ring, he would jump out. she'd be standing where he told her to stand, but he was mad that she was standing there. And he would make her stand in a new spot as if like, dude, you told her to stand there. What a dick.
Yeah.
You're like the worst person in the world. Like little things like that made you hate him. And it wasn't because of what was happening in the ring. It was because of what was happening outside the ring. And man, yeah, I missed the opportunity to talk to him.
Well, look, I know you're beating yourself up about this, but there's not too many other people in the world, whether their profession is wrestler or otherwise, who can say they've had any sort of phone call with the Macho Man Randy Savage. So I think that's like a badge of honor you should be wearing.
It is. And later on in life, someone explained it like this. Think about all the people who get into basketball, let's just say who got into basketball a long time ago because of Michael Jordan, let's say.
Sure.
Okay, what are the odds of them becoming a successful basketball player? So slim to none. And then put on top of that the odds of them getting to work with Michael Jordan, the person who helped shape their love for, like, it's like capturing lightning in a bottle. They said, you've captured lightning in a bottle. You've got to be okay with that. And yeah, I am.
And I mean, it's not just with Macho Man, it's with Ric Flair.
Yes.
And you're now a meme because of this moment with Ric Flair.
Those memes, you know Colt Cabana?
Of course. Yeah, he was on the show last week.
Colt said to me, could you imagine if you just got 50 cents for every time that meme was viewed? Just 50 cents. I said, wow, you know what? I didn't think you're right.
Dude, half a cent.
Yes, just half a cent. Right. Yeah, that meme. I remember people in high school that I hadn't talked to for years texting me the meme. Like, oh my gosh, this is wild.
Was the plan going into that segment that you were going to have the woo off and do what you did?
Okay, so no. If you were to ask me what the scariest moment of my life is, it's not any kind of near-death experience because I've never had any near-death experiences. There's one time where, I went through turbulence and the plane was like terrified me. But scariest moment of my life is that segment with Ric Flair. And it's because Vince Russo, when I got there, said, and he's from New York, bro, I got this great idea. You're going to have interaction with Ric Flair. You got a promo, bro, with Ric Flair. And of course, little kid me's jumping for joy.
Yeah.
He goes, but the problem is, he goes, bro, Ric Flair won't let us write anything for him. He goes, when a wrestler goes to the ring for a promo, they always have bullet points. They know, but he won't let us even write bullet points. So you got to go to Ric Flair and ask him, what do you want to do in the promo? I go, okay. So I go to Ric Flair and I go, so we have an in-ring segment today. He goes, yep. I go, Russo told me to come get with you to go over like what happens in the promo. And like it was a movie. So I'm standing in his locker room. That's important to remember. Like it was a movie. I go into his locker room. I say this and I go, Vince Russo wants me to get with you to figure out how the promo is going to go. And he stands up, comes near me. He goes, I don't talk about my wrestling promos. I'll see you out there. And he slaps me on the shoulder. And then he walks out of the room. First of all, why are you walking? Like, this is your locker room. Why are you walking out? But it was like a movie. I'll see you out there, Pat. And then he walked out of the room. And in that moment, I kind of was like, is he joking? But like, I hope he's not, because I had been at Impact Wrestling at that point, Chris, for 6 years. Never have they given me a chance to cut a promo in front of the crowd live on television. I was doing the Macho Man stick. Yeah. So at that point, all my promos were filmed in the back in the locker room, pre-taped. And let's just say they said, okay, in your promo, you're going to say 1, 2, 3. In the Macho Man voice, if I said, okay, 1, 2, 7, they thought it was funny. They didn't even care that I didn't say 1, 2, 3. So I never had to like hit these marks or like hit these bullet points or like make sure I say the right thing. I can say anything in the Macho Man voice and they'd be like, one take, you're good. So now from going to that to now live in front of the crowd, live on TV with Ric Flair, it was terrifying. Man, it was the scariest moment of my life. Scariest moment. And literally, I didn't know what was going to happen. Like nothing was written, nothing was planned. remember before I went through the curtain, my hands went numb. That's how like nervous I was. And Simon Diamond came up to me. He goes, "What? Like you look so like what's going on? You look so nervous and scared." I go, "I am." He goes, What you don't understand, Jay, and maybe this will make you feel better, is you're only in this position because you have this killer Ric Flair impersonation backstage. He loved it so much that he wanted to work with you. That's why this is happening. So don't go out there and do anything you wouldn't do back here. Just do what you're doing back here because that's why you're in the situation you're in. And that made me feel a little bit better. And I was like, yeah, okay. So then
did you know you were going to do a Ric Flair impression before that chat with Simon Diamond?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I knew that I had to go out there and pretend to be Ric Flair. Then he was going to come out, and then who knows what was going to happen after that. That's all I knew. And that was how we had like 4 promos together. And every one of them was the same way. Go out there, start doing a Ric Flair impression, and then we'll see what happens. And it's terrifying. It was so terrifying.
Wow.
But it panned out, and I couldn't believe it. But I was so scared because it's like I don't want to say the wrong thing, and like I don't want to mess up. And Ric Flair's like the best promo guy in the world. Like, what am I supposed to do? But it luckily worked. It all worked out. That whole woo off, none of that was planned. It all just happened, which is wild.
Wow.
Yeah, none of it was planned.
What's the best meme you've seen for the woo off?
The one where it's like when two dogs are walking and it's just us wooing back and forth at each other. That's the best one I've ever seen.
Man. if you could somehow make that an NFT, you'd be rich.
Oh wow.
Imagine Impact Wrestling would own that.
Right.
But Impact Wrestling should make it an NFT and give you guys a little bit something there.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that NFT. You're right.
I don't even know what an NFT is, but
yeah, but hands down, that's the scariest moment of my life, Chris.
Wow, what a story.
Yep. And then there's a couple like we mentioned after one of the days he said, "Come out and have a drink with me." And I don't drink much, but hanging out with him, there's so many things that he told me that I can never repeat, obviously. But seeing him in the bar, he really is a ladies' man. And the ladies just love Ric Flair. It's wild. So to see him in like his
describes it as he holds court at the bar.
That's a good way to describe it. That's a good way. Yeah. They're drawn to him. It's wild. And I've seen it firsthand. They're just drawn to him.
I mean, he oozes charisma.
He does.
There's a lot of charismatic people in the wrestling business, but he is on a completely different level.
He is. And his career is like, it's like a new resurgence now too, because he's in so many rap videos and there's so many like this. It's amazing. He's got these Car Shield commercials. This is like life after Ric Flair, but there's no, you're still Ric Flair, but life after wrestling for him is pretty sweet gig.
Oh, there is a large contingent of wrestling fans who have never watched a Ric Flair match. I mean, think about it. If there's people that are in their 20s or maybe even younger, they're aware of who Ric Flair is. They're aware of the significance of him, but they may have never seen a match.
I've never even thought of that.
There's
I've never thought of that.
This is going to blow your mind. There's a lot of people that have never seen a Rock match. A lot of people that don't even, The Rock to them as an actor.
Right. I can't even begin to imagine that. Wow. That kind of like, it's like, does not compute, How is that possible?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If there's someone watching this that's never seen a Jay Lethal match for whatever reason, what match do they need to go look up on YouTube right now?
Okay. Well, it won't be on YouTube because Ring of Honor does a pretty good job of making sure.
Okay, they need to seek this out somewhere else.
Me versus. Oh, there's 3 that come to mind.
Okay, give us 3.
Okay, me versus Jay Briscoe when I won the Ring of Honor World Championship.
There was a clip of that on YouTube.
There's clips of that. Me versus Roderick Strong for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. That match went an hour. It was a 60-minute match. And then me versus Matt Taven for the Ring of Honor World Championship, and that also went 60 minutes.
Is that the one at Madison Square Garden?
Actually, no, that one's not at Madison Square Garden. Believe it or not, that one is in Las Vegas. Went 60 minutes. I'm proud of the match in Madison Square Garden, but I don't think when you look at my body, my matches and my body of work, it's not the like, oh, that you need to watch that match as far as someone looking to see what is Jay Lethal all about.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be that match, but I mean, one of the greatest nights of my life, that match.
Sure.
But yeah, it's those three. Yeah, I really think there's some of everything in there, and the reason that I'm picking those three is because it's at a time where I realized everything I've done before this, the Macho Man, the Ric Flair, getting to rub elbows with Kevin Nash, all that stuff was this great. I should have had to pay money for that. It was a giant learning experience to the person and the wrestler that I am today. I got to learn how to cut promos from Ric Flair. I got to learn in-ring wrestling from Kurt Angle. I wrestled Kurt Angle on pay-per-view. I got to work with him. Like, it was the greatest learning experience that I could have gotten to prepare me to be the face and the franchise of a company.
Yeah.
And my body of work now is just, man, all that stuff needed to happen so I can get to this point.
With as over as Black Machismo was, how did you know it was time to put that away and start to be Jay Lethal again?
I didn't. They told me it was time. I was just having so much fun. And one funny thing comes to mind, because I was like, oh, when does this? And then when it was over, I was like, almost didn't know what to do with myself when they were like, enough of the Black Machismo. Raven had this joke. He goes, Jay, you mind if I talk to you for a second? I go, sure. He goes, so the one thing I noticed is your Black Machismo impression, it's amazing. It's like, man, I can't take my eyes off the screen. I said, yeah. He goes, your Ric Flair impression, spot on. It's great. Like, I can't think of any other word, but great. I go, yeah. He goes, your Jay Lethal impression, though, needs some work. I was like, wow. Okay. And I agreed with him because I was so good, I thought, at being other people, because I watched them for years, that I didn't really know how to be myself. I didn't know what Jay Lethal was or who he was. So it took a little while to figure that out. But all the things that came before it helped me figure it out. I just wanted to be a mesh of all the greatest things that I've found to be great about wrestling. And then I realized that's all you're watching from any particular wrestler. You're watching what they feel wrestling should be. And what drew them to wrestling, they're going to incorporate that heavily into whatever they are doing. So, like, when you watch me, you're watching a bunch of Ric Flair, you're watching Macho Man Randy Savage, you're watching some Kurt Angle, you're watching damn near you're watching some Bret Hart too. Like, everything that, and depending on if I'm good or bad too, everything that I found great about professional wrestling is in my matches. And the same thing can be said for every wrestler.
So how did you find Jay Lethal? After being a Macho Man impersonator and a Ric Flair impersonator, how did you find Jay Lethal?
Well, he was always in there. He was always in there. I just didn't know it. And I needed to go through all that other stuff so I could be like, oh, I like this. And, ooh, I like some of that. And, ooh, I like some of that and some of that. And finally, when I had all those pieces, then I was able to go, okay, this is Jay Lethal. He's all of these things.
And your hair was always such a big part of your gimmick. Was it scary for you to take on a very drastically different look?
Okay, so you want to know something about... Okay, so I had cornrows for almost 13 years straight. And the thing about cornrows is they look good, but after a certain amount of time, they pull your hair out. So I, through the cornrows and through my dad's genetics, a combination of both, started balding. So the braids on the side would look super full, but the braids on the top would look kind of thin. And the funny thing is, because sometimes I'd let my braids out and have my hair down. And I loved doing that, but you would really notice the hair was thinning, so I had to keep the braids in. And I remember one of my friends said to me, "Don't cut it. Don't cut it," because I was like, I think I need to cut my hair. He said, "Did Hogan ever cut his hair?" Did
That's
Macho
not a
Man
great
ever cut
example.
He said, "Did Macho Man or Jake the Snake ever cut their hair?" No, they fought the good fight. So keep fighting the good fight. So that's what he would call it, fighting the good fight. And I said, no, I don't think in this day and age I can fight the good fight. So I remember going to the barber. I said, "Cut it." And then I go, "Oh, wait a minute. I got a great idea. Maybe I could have whoever I'm feuding with, maybe they could beat me down and shave my head." So, yeah, that's what we did. I didn't want to do it. I really didn't. But there was one day I was getting my hair braided, and I was like, this is, not only does it hurt, but it's getting painful because there's so little in the middle that she has to. And then one time my sister was like, "Well, I can add fake hair to it." And that's so I was like, oh my God, I think I need to cut it.
I mean, you rock it. You rock this.
I love it now.
Yeah.
I didn't love it so much when it first happened. It took a while to get used to. But now, oh my gosh, when I had the braids, Chris, every week, because I was wrestling so much, I had to get my hair redone. Wow. So think about having 13 years. For 13 years, at the end of every week, you got to sit down on your butt so your sister can braid your hair. And that takes like 3-4 hours because she has to undo it. You got to wash it, redo it. Yeah. And it was now in the morning, I go in the shower and then you're done.
Yeah.
Ready to take on the world.
And there were a lot of people who did not fight the good fight, like Kurt Angle, for example. So many people.
Right, but was he balding? He lost.
Yes, that's the whole reason. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't notice that he was balding.
I mean, if you go back and watch that hair versus hair match, he was balding, and he told me that Vince McMahon said, "Gonna have to shave your head."
Luckily, no one came up to me and said that. It would have made me feel awful. I think they just let it happen. It was luckily my decision, but no, I didn't notice that he was balding. Wow.
And I mean, you named Jake the Snake, who pretty publicly had a hair transplant.
Yes.
So and he fought the good fight in a different way.
He did.
But you rock it. I mean, you rock it.
Thank you very much. I look just like my dad. He's got the bald head. We look very much the same.
Your dad is a handsome man, then. I
thank you very much. Thank you.
My goodness, this has gone so much longer than I promised you it would go, but
it's okay. It's okay.
I've had a blast.
The best is when time just goes by. You don't even realize it because the questions are so interesting. The answers are interesting sometimes, and it's okay to travel off of wrestling topics. That's what I love.
That is the purpose of this show. Okay. I mean, my podcast is called Insight because I want to steal your insights and apply them to my own life. And you have so many nuggets of knowledge during this conversation about believing in yourself and chasing after the things that you want and making them a reality that I'm inspired. And I know that everybody listening to this is going to be super inspired as well.
Oh man, thank you. Well, thank you for having me on. This has been so cool. So cool. I can't tell you. I've done a bunch of these. Man, and this one, I really feel like, and sorry for the people watching, I feel like this one started as soon as our video thing connected and I saw you, there was a good minute or two that didn't get recorded.
And I'm like, I got to hit record. Let's do this.
This thing, and I know the deal, right? I know like as soon as it starts, they normally say, okay, are you ready? We talked a little bit. You ready? Okay. Okay. And here we hit record. I
Yeah.
know that that's the deal. I didn't think that when the camera turned on, we were going, but it's just this natural thing. And you had the Emmys there and like, and then we were
You've
like,
got all the gear behind you.
yeah, yes. Yeah. So did we talk about that or was that all off air?
No, we talked about that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. Like, yeah, this
Strange
was
mix
so
of
fun.
on air, off air. I end every interview talking about gratitude, Jay, because it's such a huge thing in my life. And I can tell from the stories that you're telling that, you are a very grateful person. So what are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for as you sit here right now?
So outside of wrestling?
Can be whatever you want. 3 things that you're grateful for today.
Okay. One thing I'm grateful for is that I have a dream job. And by dream job, I mean I'm living my dream and getting paid enough to make a living. I have a house and it's all due to wrestling and this dream job. So many people have to go to work and they dread getting up to go to work. They hate it.
Yeah.
And for some of them, it's all they can do. It's all they can get. They can't get another job. And man, that is, my heart goes out to those people and it makes me feel so sad for them and also appreciative and grateful that I got this dream job. And man, I got so lucky. I'm just so lucky. Another thing I'm grateful for, I'm grateful that the fans, I get to wrestle in front of the fans coming up. I mentioned it's like Christmas Day. I don't openly admit to being jealous of anyone, not too much, but I was very jealous of my friends at AEW who got to have a big pay-per-view in front of the fans. I couldn't stop looking at the fans. I knew the wrestling was going on, but
Yeah.
believe it or not, when I watched their pay-per-view, I wasn't even looking at the action in the ring. All I could do was keep staring at the fans' reaction because I couldn't wait till I could experience that again. And that's coming up. I'm so grateful that the pandemic didn't end wrestling altogether and we got the fans coming back. And the third thing, I mean, I'm wow. I'm just grateful to be alive. I mean, I'm healthy, especially in a business where not everybody can say that.
Yeah.
I've actually only broken one bone in my life,
Wow.
and I broke my left arm. It's really the only bad injury I've ever had in wrestling. I've been very lucky, never got any teeth knocked out. I hit my head a few times that every wrestler has, especially when you're learning how to fall back. So I'm thankful that I've never been, and knock on some wood here. Seriously,
I will knock as well.
Thank you. Injured. But yeah, like I'm just grateful for everything. Like I really do think that my wrestling career and my life is like can be described 2 ways. One, someone won the lottery. I really feel like some people have a better chance of winning the lottery than they do getting to live everything that I've gotten to live. Work with their idols, travel the world, people like got an action figure. And the other way to describe it is if you just go and watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I am Charlie. And like you mentioned before, sure, you can say that, but you got to have the skills to back it up. Sure, you got to have the skills at the right time. You need those to stay in that position. But I am on the side of the fence where I have been extremely lucky. Everything that I've gotten is due. I know I have hard work. I know I put that in, but I think that everything I got is because I got lucky and I was in the right place at the right time. I really do. And the main reason I think that, Chris, I mentioned to you earlier, as a wrestler, you can check all the boxes. You can have the look, you can have the charisma, you can talk the talk, walk the walk, and still never make it. But those people who never make it and check all the boxes, they put the hard work in. They know how to. I mean, I've seen some great freaking wrestlers, never make it.
Yeah,
and I did, and it's I'm so lucky. I'm lucky. Not Four Emmys lucky, but I'm lucky.
We're thankful for the career that you've had. I mean, you're so damn entertaining in the ring.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so damn entertaining in an interview. This was fantastic. Thank you so much, Jay. Like, I've been looking forward to speaking with you for a long time. I look forward to when we can meet in person and do this in person, but this was fantastic and exceeded any expectations I would have.
Thank you. I got one question. I want a question. I asked you a question to end. So I can't see what kind of setup you have. This is where you do most of your work,
yeah.
right? So,
Unless we're doing them in person, yeah.
Okay, so what's on your desk? What do you got on your desk that oh man, this makes my setup complete. This thing on my desk. For me, it's this here. I've got a bunch of Funko Pops.
Ooh.
But my Macho Man Funko Pop was the last thing I got, and it completed. That's when I was like, now my setup is complete. I've got lights and stuff, but
yeah,
that's not what this is. What makes them? This is
wow.
I've got a few Funko Pops here, but this one was the last one I got. It made my collection.
Ooh, yeah.
My whole setup is now complete. What do you got something on your desk?
So I'm going to break your heart here. My desk is barren. So my desk is just equipment. I don't work from this desk other than like recording interviews and maybe, typing on my laptop.
Okay.
So all I've got here is like a mic and, some notes that I made and this thing that we got to plug the mic into.
Really?
It's all behind me here. So.
Okay. So we talked about the Emmys. What is that belt?
Oh, wow. This was a gift that was made. Fandu Belts makes some of the best replica belts, and it's the
Fandu Belts.
My podcast used to be called the Chris Van Vliet Show. So,
oh wow,
it is a custom belt. We got the YouTube
no way.
Logo there, podcast logo there.
YouTube side plate.
Yeah. So a custom belt that was it's just a lovely gift.
That was a gift to you. Wow.
It was a gift, yeah.
I like that. That's amazing.
Thank you. But I think the thing that really completes the whole set.
The way you just did that, by the way.
What?
The way you pop the strap so that it falls on your shoulder.
That is years of being a wrestling fan.
Yes. For real. I've given I've won plenty of belts before on indie shows and stuff, and my dad, I let him hold it. I remember I brought the Impact Wrestling X Division title, and he would like hold it up, and the way he wouldn't put it on his shoulder, he wouldn't pop the strap open. Like it's a thing. Yeah, you've got to be this big avid wrestling fan.
Oh yeah,
watch it enough to know
every wrestling fan can do that.
Yes, yeah.
But I think a lot of the things behind me here mean a lot to me. So that's a building in Cleveland because I used to live in Cleveland. That is the Rogers Center where the Blue Jays play in Toronto, and I was a season ticket holder before moving to America. Picture my family, and another gift that's a bobblehead, Chris Van Bobble, I call him. I got this when I was in Cleveland, Chris Van Bobble.
And now you and I, we have figures of, we'll live forever now. We get to live forever.
One of a kind right here. Nobody wants to. But Jay, I can't thank you enough. This was so great.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Thank you. This has been awesome.